Hello, my name is Bhaskaran, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the absolute essence of design thinking. Many of us understand the process of design thinking. It starts with empathize. We then move on to defining the problem, of course, then ideating solutions, prototyping the solution, and last but not least, testing it on the user community that we are targeting. Unfortunately, and here's where the essence of this comes in, many of us think that design thinking will work in every situation under any circumstances. What design thinking is not is this. It really does not address a large, diverse population. You cannot come up with a solution that satisfies everybody in the process of design thinking. What design thinking really does, if you look at it, is look at something called a persona. A persona is a targeted user community. A persona is a targeted customer base. Everything that you do is targeting this persona. In this case, for example, it's a newly married couple, and you have to define all the parameters of this persona. What is their socioeconomic status? What is their educational qualifications? What is their spending power? And what kinds of family backgrounds do they come from? As much detail as you can about the persona makes your solution that much more clear. Right? So let's look at this one by one. I'm going to start with empathize. When I look at empathize, what we normally understand as empathize is, hey, you know what? The ability to stand in somebody else's shoes. And here's the problem. My shoes are not the same as your shoes. How then can you stand in my shoes wearing your shoes? You have true empathy if you can stand in my shoes after removing your own. One of the tool sets under the design thinking process is something called an empathy map. And an empathy map helps you hopefully understand my situation from my perspective and kind of stand in my shoes after removing your own. Once you have understood your persona, then you actually define the problem that this persona faces. What do I mean by this? In this case, for example, it is the problems typically faced by a newly married couple. Now, don't get me wrong. When I use the word problem, it could also mean an opportunity space. Remember, a newly married couple is typically setting up a new home. Once you have identified the situation, the problem or the opportunity for that persona, you start ideating. What do? You look at solutions that will address the needs of that persona, and this solution must include, of course, all the functional requirements that we speak of, but also typically many of the qualitative attributes as well, what are called non-functional requirements. And again, there is a whole bunch of tools. There are creativity tools, there are critical thinking tools, etc. that will help you ideate better going forward. Once you have some ideas, it doesn't stop there. You now have to learn to prototype that idea, right? When you prototype the idea, you're typically creating a minimum viable product, a minimum viable solution. Again, there are various tools for this. It starts with just 3D modeling. It could be a computer-generated image. It could be wireframe diagrams. It could be screenshots. You name it, there are different versions of prototyping. Once you have a prototype that you think the user personas can play with, you then validate that prototype. This is the final phase. It's called the test phase. Validate your solution with those user personas, not just one or two, 50, 60, 70 of them. Find out if your solution really meets their needs. If not, you might have to go back through the full cycle again. But what it does is this whole process, at the end of it, gives a solution that really meets the needs of a persona of this nature. In summary, if I were to put all of this in one sentence, what we are talking about is design thinking is a technique that leads to a highly personalized solution for a particular, very specific customer or user base. I hope you start thinking about design thinking from these perspectives. Of course, there's a lot of literature out there, and it's a very powerful tool when you're coming up with a solution to somebody's problem. All the best, and thank you for watching this video.